Welcome in to Mercado Airwaves Sports Experience with your host, Mike Mercado.
Hello, friends, and welcome in to the very first Mercado Airwaves Sports Experience. I'm your host, Mike Mercado. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have a very cool show for you guys. Week 1 of the NFL season is in the books, and we dive in deep with the Daily Blitz's founder and NFL analyst, Christian Simpson, joins us. We're going to talk a little bit about Major League Baseball. We have a few losing streaks and a pretty crazy winning streak we got to get to. We have another super fight in the boxing world coming up, and we take some of your questions on the show. We have so many things to get to, guys. Let's get to it. We'll be right back on Mercado Airwaves Sports Experience here on Mercado Airwaves.
If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, MikeMercado2333.
Well, let's get right into it, guys. The LA Dodgers have lost 16 of their last 17. More impressively, though, the Cleveland Indians have won 19 straight games, looking to tie another record today. They've been on a crazy run after stumbling earlier on in the season. Speaking of stumbling, the Chicago Cubs getting swept by the Milwaukee Brewers, losing the division lead from 5 to 2.5. And in Chicago, Jose Abreu hitting a cycle for the South Side, giving the White Sox fans a nice fan base, something to cheer about over the weekend. All this baseball talk, though, about these records, these losing streaks and these winning streaks, have got people wondering if they maybe spoke too soon about their World Series favorites and maybe if the Dodgers were going to win it. Now, I still think the Dodgers they're still the favorite. They earned their division lead. They came out absolutely on fire, and perhaps they're playing with this type of lackluster energy. I mean, they were playing until 3 a.m. Central Time yesterday with the San Francisco Giants losing, but I don't think they're calling it in. I just think they've got a big lead, and they were in the NLCS last year losing to the Chicago Cubs, and this team has aspirations to win the World Series, and they put themselves in a position right now where they're putting extra pressure on themselves. Then maybe that goes away if it wakes up and they get a little fire under their ass because they'll be in meaningful playoff games. Obviously, this team has pressure on it, not just because of the record and the outstanding start that they had, but the fact that they have the best closer in the league, arguably. But more importantly, maybe not just the best pitcher, but maybe the best player in Major League Baseball in Clayton Kershaw. And a lot of pressure is going to be on that bad dude. Because, in my opinion, this is a trend maybe I've noticed more, being more on the pulse when it comes to what beat writers are talking about with each team. But winning championships means something more in baseball than it did before. It's such a team sport. There's so many X factors. Anything can happen in October. But people ask questions now. When is Bryce Harper going to win a championship for Washington? When is Clayton Kershaw going to win a championship for the Dodgers? When are they going to get them there? Not just win one, get them there. And this is what's brought me to my point all season long, especially when we got into mid-July. I was actually joined with Paul Shivari, one of my good friends and one of the awesome minds when it comes to baseball. He's actually going to be joining us, one of the awesome MLB experts you can have here on in the podcast and radio world. We did a baseball show all about Chicago. And the one thing I keep bringing back is each of these teams has talent. The Cubs are as talented as any other team in baseball. Houston has the MVP. They just got Justin Verlander. Houston has everything it takes. You have Boston with a lights-out pitcher in Chris Sale. Talent's all over this league. I mean, Stanton is trying to hit 60 home runs in Miami. There's talent everywhere. Stats everywhere. Everybody knows where the ball is going to be at. Everybody shifts to the right place. People are swinging upwards to get the ball. Things are so on paper in front of us. But what isn't is tested, ironed players. And it sounds so cliche. It sounds so bro-ish. And it sounds so, gym teacher-esque. But when you're looking for the slightest of X factors, when you're saying, yeah, that curveball has this chance of getting past Chris Bryant, or, perhaps, I don't know, Kershaw against, Zimmerman, and he has a 97% chance of striking him out in this situation because he has a man on first. And all these numbers, all these situations, we've all seen them. It's all a simulation at this point. But what happens if we get to a Game 7? And it's between Washington and the Dodgers. Somebody's going to get their moment to finally get over the hump. But not just that, earn the stripes. Earn the right for people to believe that they can do it. Which is why I still have total faith in the Chicago Cubs when it comes to a baseball team. They have all the talent there, which is the most important thing. You have the talent there, but if healthy, they're the only team in the National League, not named San Francisco, that knows what it is to get to the NLCS and get swept out. But then come back and win the World Series, being down to the Dodgers 2-1 at one point, being down to Cleveland in the World Series 3-1, giving up the lead in Game 7 of the World Series to win it in extra innings. These are people that are tested. Is Chris Sale tested with the playoffs? He was the best pitcher in baseball, at least in the American League when he was playing for the South Side of Chicago, for the White Sox. But what happens the moment at Fenway Park against Houston? What happens then? We haven't seen it. But I have seen Francisco Lindor to the plate. Big moments. Getting big at-bats. I've seen Andrew Miller, who's injured right now in Cleveland, still doing this. I've seen him step up to the plate. So my question is, if you have to bet the house, are you willing to put it on the Dodgers at this point? Who is the favorite to win the World Series? Is it finally Cleveland's year? Quietly as the Dodgers were building this division lead and building this record, Cleveland was finding its way, finding its stride. And we've seen this type of baseball before. Kansas City loses 1 year, comes back, wins the World Series. The Cubs lose 1 year, come back, win the World Series. Is this the same pattern that baseball's having, where you got to get a taste? You got to get the team there. The question then becomes for a team like Chicago, have they lost that step? These are still professionals. These are still the best of the best. But in comparative to a Cleveland, is the hunger the same? How can it be? They just came off of an amazing season. And that's for any champion. What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound for pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
another day at the operator to go out there and test my skill,
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones. Orlando, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, sir. I'm good, brother. How you doing?
And all the other interesting guests we've had on. Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support. Your NFL Week 2 schedule preview is brought to you by Patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. On Thursday Night Football, it's the Houston Texans versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Your first half Sunday games, the Buffalo Bills take on the Carolina Panthers. It's Minnesota versus Pittsburgh. Patriots take on the New Orleans Saints. The Philadelphia Eagles visit the Kansas City Chiefs. It's Titans versus Jaguars in an AFC South Division matchup. The Browns take on their rival Baltimore Ravens at 12 o'clock. It's the Cardinals versus Colts, and the Chicago Bears visit the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And your second half games is the New York Jets versus the Oakland Raiders, the Dallas Cowboys versus the Denver Broncos. Washington takes on the LA Rams. It's San Francisco versus Seattle. And your Sunday Night Football game, the 1-0 Green Bay Packers take on the 1-0 Atlanta Falcons. And to close out Week 2 of the NFL season, it's the Detroit Lions taking on the New York Giants on Monday Night Football. Your NFL Week 2 schedule preview is brought to you by Patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves.
It's time for a little chance
and Risk.
The McGregor versus Mayweather super fight may have come and gone, but for boxing fans, another super fight is coming this Saturday, September 16, on pay-per-view. It's Triple G versus Canelo Alvarez, and it's going to be one hell of a fight. For all the fans out there who are interested in what the odds look like, you have Triple G at -155, Canelo at +125. This is an interesting matchup. It is arguably the two best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. You have two guys who are known for their strength, known for putting opponents down. Rumor has it that Canelo has gained a few pounds and has bulked up for this fight. Triple G has never been knocked out. So with all that in mind, I will be going with Triple G by a TKO in the 9th round. That was Chance and Risk. What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound-for-pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
Another day at the operator to go out there and test my skill.
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones. Orlando, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, sir. I'm good, brother. How you doing?
And all the other interesting guests we've had on. Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support. Thank you for keeping it with us, guys, here on Mercado Airwaves Sports Experience, our very first episode. And we couldn't do this. We couldn't talk NFL on the first episode without having our guy coming from us from the Daily Blitz. You can follow him everywhere. He's on Twitter at the Daily Blitz _61. Like him on Facebook at facebook.com/the Daily Blitz. And more importantly, guys, go to thedailyblitz.net and please subscribe, get the newsletter. Joining us today on the very first episode, our very first guest, my guy, Christian Simpson. Christian, welcome on, brother.
15 Chapel. For the people that don't know, that's what I call Mr. Mercado.
My man.
Michelangelo. What's going on, man?
It's a crazy life we're living, man. Week 1 came and went. All this time I'm waiting, counting down the days, and we're on week 2 already.
Yeah, isn't that something?
Every year it's always like that, and week 1 wasn't without its craziness. We had David Johnson go down, and the news now is he's going to be out for 2 to 4 months.
Yeah. That's a tough break. You know, I did a 10 best players list, and he came in as my 8th best player coming into the year this year, and my second-ranked running back. He's just such a versatile piece. So what the Arizona Cardinals do, you can flank him wide, he can catch the ball out the backfield, he's 50. You know, I think he's the best back in football, not named Le'Veon Bell.
Of course, I agree with that, and it's a shame too, because at least from watching Detroit, Arizona, Carson Palmer looks a little older. That team looks a little older. Fitz only has so many more snaps. He's still a monster, but the fact is that these guys have been through a lot of battles, and they were putting their shoulders on the guy who people were thinking, you know, could go off and double-digit on scoring touchdowns when it comes to running it and catching it.
Agreed. So they're going to miss that versatility, but someone else is going to have to step up, and this is where I see John Brown and Jerron Brown. Those two guys really stepping up, taking tops off the zone, getting downfield, and hopefully Carson Palmer can take better care of the football.
Now, earlier on in the week, we saw a crazy Thursday night, which is very rare because we never get good Thursday night games, but Kansas City going into Foxborough on banner-raising night and puts a stomping on Belichick's boys. What do you got on that?
I mean, New England got hit in the mouth. That's the first thing that I can take away. When you play the Patriots, you got to come out and play your own game, establishing the run, using play action, getting the ball down the field somehow, some way. You can't match point for point and score for score and touchdown to touchdown with a guy like a Tom Brady, because, you know, you do that, you're working into his demise. And he's gonna use that against you, and he's just gonna carve you up. But really, I think the biggest thing that I took away from that game, man, was the Patriots don't have a pass rusher. And you look at all the years that they were winning Super Bowls and they're getting the AFC title games, they've always had that one signature guy that could get after the quarterback, whether it was Richard Seymour, Chris Long, Chandler Jones, just to name a few, Jamie Collins. They always had somebody that could get after the quarterback somehow, some way. And now they don't have that, and they're in trouble if they don't get this pass rush together soon, because Alex Smith had all day to throw the football, and he could have voted in the next election with all the time he had to throw from the pocket. But here's the other thing, Kareem Hunt, I know he's been the talk of the week, as he should be, because he really stepped up, and he balled out after he fumbled that football. But here's the thing about a rookie, and you've heard me tell you this before off the microphone. When a rookie comes in, he kind of has that upper hand on a defense because there's not that much tape on him, and you learn more about him as the game goes on. So they kept giving him the ball, and they couldn't stop him.
Now, do you think, though, this was a preview for things to come, or are we getting fooled by thinking that Tom Brady's old again and that Bill Belichick lost it? Because it seems to me any single time we even have a doubt of what's going on up in Boston, they find a way to turn it around and pick somebody up from the street and find a way to turn it around. And in a weak division, I don't see New England being anywhere near in danger of losing their crown. But when it comes to big picture, is this a preview of what could happen in the playoffs?
No, it's not. Look, they're going to get it together. No team is better at bouncing back than the New England Patriots. They always find a way to do it somehow. And have you ever noticed whenever they game plan, they don't lean toward the run, they don't lean toward the pass, they just find a way to get the ball to whoever's open. But I will say this, though, they do miss Julian Edelman a lot because they don't have that target to get the ball down the field, on third down and short, and Brady looks lost without him.
So then when you're thinking big picture, do you still see New England being the cream of the crop of the AFC? Because, again, like you just said, there was no film on Hunt, but fact is he did ball out, and he made a huge mistake of fumbling the ball in New England on the biggest night. Everybody's watching him, and shrugged it off as if it was nothing, showing some cojones, my friend, like something that I didn't think a bounce back was going to happen, and sure enough, he showed up.
Yeah, he did show up, but you know what? I'm never going to count out Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. I did that a couple years ago, and they ended up winning Super Bowl 49 against Seattle. So, I mean, I thought Brady was done. I thought he was old then. And I think from that game, when I said he was done in 2014 all the way to the rest of the season, he was probably the best player in football. They're going to make their adjustments somehow, some way. No team is better at getting it together and coming up with the perfect game plan to bounce back after a loss than Belichick and the Patriots.
Christian Simpson joins us today on Mercado Airwaves Sports Experience, our very first episode with our very first guest. We are diving deep into what was week one of the NFL season. And Christian, one of the biggest stories that we have going on right now is Ezekiel Elliott down in Dallas and this drama with Roger Goodell and the NFL. He played week one, got stopped by New York for the most part. Typically what happens, last year his two worst games were again against New York, just like Dak. But what happens week two? Will Dak play all season? This is a big question not only for the league to save face, the league to stand its ground, but also for players who, if he's innocent, if he's just guilty for being a knucklehead, for being maybe not the best of dudes, maybe being a bad dude, there's a lot that goes on in this, including fantasy football for the micro of it. What do you have going on in Dallas?
Yeah, there is. And here's the thing, man. He's such a talented player. I loved him in college. I analyzed the game of college football as well. And, I loved his impact on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Did the same thing for the Dallas Cowboys last year. He's their best player, Mike. Plain and simple, at the end of the day. It revolves around him. It starts with him, it ends with him. And he didn't do too bad on Sunday against the Giants. But here's my thing, he's a young kid. He's 22 years old. Yeah, he's an adult, but he's still a young adult at that. And a majority of the core players on the Cowboys are still relatively young themselves. So they really don't have that grizzly old savvy veteran to pull him aside and say, hey, man, kind of get it together. Don't do this. Anything you do, it can not just affect you and your family and make your family look bad. It'll make the team look bad as well. And the Cowboys don't have that guy to really pull him aside, because think about it. Let's just throw a couple of scenarios in here. Say he's playing in Baltimore during the Ray Lewis days. Ray will pull him aside and set him straight. Say he's playing in New York for the Giants during the Michael Strahan days, or even Justin Tuck.
Sure.
Because he became the leader after Michael Strahan retired, and then he got inducted into the Hall of Fame. Michael or Justin will pull Ezekiel Elliott aside and say, hey, man, you got to stop letting loose. Think with your head. Plain and simple. You're in the big leagues now. Anything you do, you can lose a job. And it's not just an opportunity to play in the NFL. It's a privilege. You're not required to do this. So not only are you representing the team that you play for when you're not on the field, you're representing the league that you're employed by.
And I totally agree with you in that stance. My problem with that, though, is the owner of the team is Jerry Jones, a Cowboy in his own right. Somebody who, of all the owners, throws rebellions towards his own people, towards his own league. And I think it's kind of crazy because I don't know that that kind of person's ever going to get into that locker room.
Yeah, it's definitely a comical sideshow. Soap opera down
for
there
America's team,
Right. That's the only way I could use it to describe it, Mike.
Now, it wasn't just off the field issues and injuries. It was a crazy week one. Cincinnati gets shut out. Houston, with all the emotion, can't beat Jacksonville. The Rams absolutely putting a stomping on Indianapolis. How Chuck Pagano, maybe if it wasn't for the illness thing, probably doesn't have a job anymore. What was your biggest surprise of week one in the NFL?
I'm going to say, really, I have four things that really stood out to me, man. It's not just one. I have four. The first one, Jacksonville, going into Houston. I think football was probably the last thing on a lot of those people's minds in Houston. I think I could say this on behalf of my brand and you and your brand. Our thoughts are with those affected by Harvey and Irma in Houston and in Florida. That's just so hard to witness. You think you have it bad up here, but there are some people that lost their houses. I just had to say that.
Absolutely.
But, Jacksonville just went in there. They got 10 sacks. They sacked Tom Savage about 6 times. You sacked Deshaun Watson about 4 times. And they just looked hungry. You take after your head coach, and they just looked physical. They got after it, and most importantly, they took care of the ball. The second thing was Baltimore. Their defense is still one of the top in the league, kicking off Andy Dalton 4 times, and Terrell Suggs is in his 15th year, and he looks like he's still in year 4 or 5 when you're entering the prime of your career. He sacks Andy Dalton about twice. They get interceptions, and they pitch a shutout. Antonio Brown, look, he's one of the 2 best wide receivers in football. He was targeted 11 times. He caught 11 passes. He's the best player on the field, man. You have to take him away if you're a defense. You have to double him and force Ben Roethlisberger to throw it to your tight end or your second and third wide receiver, or even get Le'Veon Bell involved, considering the fact he was rusty, and they just couldn't do it. And Green Bay, for years, we've been talking about the downfall of their defense, and would they be able to keep it up? And they hit Seattle in the mouth on Sunday.
Now, with the NFL and how up and down it is when it comes to one injury changing anything, what is one thing that you got to keep your eye on, that you seem to want to keep your eye on the most? There's a lot of things like I have my eye on what's going on in LA, not when it comes to one on the field, but if the fans want to watch it. That was a bad visual, what you saw with the Rams game. With the Rams game. What do you have? What do you think? What do you have your eye on when it comes to the season moving forward?
The Giants, and can they get these weapons involved? Because Brandon Marshall looked like he didn't want to be there on Sunday. Look, Odell Beckham is out, so others have to step it up, and you just see how important Odell Beckham is to that Giants offense. He stretches the field, he goes over the middle, he makes all the necessary catches, and he's an important piece. He's Eli's go-to guy for a reason. So can this Giants receiving corps match like everybody thought they could, and saying how good they looked on paper? That's the one thing I want to see what's going to happen moving forward.
Who do you think ends up being the Bears' number one running back by the end of the season? Is it Tariq Cohen or is it Jordan Howard?
I think it's going to be Jordan Howard. I think Tariq Cohen is more of a complementary asset. You could bring him in on third and short. He's able to kind of space things out on the field. You can line him up as a wide receiver. You're able to toss it to him. He can catch the ball out the backfield, get those third and short runs. But either way, he's going to be effective. Let him learn more of the offense as the year goes on.
Week 2 is coming up fast, my friend, and we have an awesome Sunday night football game between the Green Bay Packers and the Atlanta Falcons in the brand new stadium down in the ATL. What do you think? This is game on turf. This is going to be a high-scoring game. This is going to be a high-action game. What do you feel about it?
You just led me right to my next statement. We're good, man.
We're professionals, brother. We know what we're doing.
Yeah, we really do. I look at Atlanta, and they look completely different in that game against the Bears on Sunday on grass. They look slower, really couldn't get anything going, couldn't speed up the game like they wanted to. So I think game speed is really going to determine the outcome of this game on Sunday. And Green Bay is going to come in with a chip on their shoulder. They lost not only once, but twice to the Falcons last year, once in a regular season and then in the NFC title game against them for the right to get to the Super Bowl. And, I think the biggest key is that Matt Ryan get Austin Hooper involved. I think he's going to be the X factor for this game. Use your tight ends over the middle, create mismatches with those safeties and those linebackers. Use your tight end, open up the running game, and somehow they got to get pressure on Aaron Rodgers because I really think now the Packers have the best receiving trio in football with Devontae Adams, Jordy Nelson, and Rand Cobb. And when all three of those guys are going off, and then you add Martellus Bennett into the mix as well, I don't think anybody can stop this offense. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think it comes down to the fourth quarter. I think Green Bay wins this one.
Christian Simpson joins us today on Mercado Airwaves Sports Experience. He is our very first guest on the very first episode. Thank you for joining us, friends. This show is produced by everybody on patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. That's how you can find out how you could produce awesome interviews like we are doing today. Visit Christian at thedailyblitz.net. He's on Twitter at dailyblitz_61. Like them on Facebook at the Daily Blitz. Andrew Luck, with this injury, if you're upper management in Indianapolis, and let's say you start off 0-3, 0-4, do you even bother bringing him back?
Well, it depends on the severity of his injury. He's been hurt quite a bit since he signed that contract extension. I know he had the lacerated spleen 1 year, and then he missed some time last year, and the guy just always seems to be on the shelf. I hope he can get healthy because I really enjoy watching him play.
Do you think, though, it's even possible for a guy like that to live up the hype he had coming out of Stanford?
Yeah, look, he's been to the playoffs. He beat Peyton Manning in the playoffs, the guy that he took over for once the Colts drafted him in 2012. He led a team without a running game and without a defense and a pretty bad offensive line to the AFC title game. He's had them a game away from the Super Bowl. He's had no weapons around him, if you think about it, Mike.
So let's talk about quarterbacks that should be playing. Is Colin Kaepernick in the league by the end of the season?
I'm going to say yes, because there's no way that some guys who haven't even thrown a football, yet alone struggled to play football, should have a job before Colin Kaepernick.
I don't think he is, Christian. Look, he should be in the league. There's a lot of garbage in the league. My thing is, they've already made it into week 2. They've already made it into week. They've gone through the worst of it when it comes to the publicity. When it comes, there's no more pressure on them having to put him on a team. This is the bottom line. He is more talented than half of the quarterbacks in the league. Just because half of the quarterbacks in the league are bad. What makes you a good, in my opinion, what makes you a good quarterback in the NFL is competency. Confidence that the upper management and the coaching staff has on you. Whether you could throw a 50-yarder out or you could dink and dunk all you want. As long as they're confident you can run a playbook for them and you won't cost them a game, I think the NFL loves you. The problem is the NFL doesn't like people speaking their mind, doesn't like people going outside the norm. However your political view is, whatever you may believe, take all that to the side. The fact is, the machine, the billionaires have decided that this one person doesn't deserve to play when they have the talent. The worst part of it, to me, came during the winter. By the time you and I know it, we'll be on another show talking about Week 8 of the season, halfway through. I don't think he'll be on a football field. The worst part is over.
Here's the thing, man. I have to really question the owners here and the general managers because they're kind of PR blocking themselves. Yeah. Because think about it. His jersey, it's been pretty hot since all this happened. You sign him to your team, and you have fans coming in and filling up the seats. Think about it. So it's a PR block, if you ask me.
And look, I had this conversation when during the McGregor-Mayweather fight, and one of the men, a white man in his 40s and 50s, good guy for the most part, but had a couple drinks, right? Okay. And they started talking about Kaepernick, of course, during the national anthem. They were making jokes, and of course, it wasn't too bad. But then it got to the point of, well, he can't play. He doesn't deserve to be in the league to begin with. So I just started naming off some names. I'm like, well, Chad Henne is in the league. Tom Savage is in the league. Trevor Siemian is in the league. I mean, Brian Hoyer is still in the league. Mike Glennon just got a big contract. The fact is, Colin Kaepernick isn't a special quarterback. He isn't. Cam Newton is. Aaron Rodgers is. Matt Ryan are. Those are special quarterbacks. Colin Kaepernick is an NFL caliber, at the very least, an NFL caliber backup. And anybody can have any argument whether they like him or not. But if we're playing Madden and you didn't know his name, he'd be on your roster.
Yep. Couldn't agree anymore with you.
Talk to me, brother. I know you're also covering the Saturday night big games when it comes to NCAA football. Unfortunately for me, I work Sunday mornings at the radio station, so it's really hard for me to get really into college football. But because I love my audience and because you're the best in the business when it comes to it, tell my fans, what should they be looking forward to this coming up weekend when it comes to college football?
Well, Clemson and Louisville. Ooh. I think this is this is the game I think that everybody's going to be talking about. Mm-hmm. You have Lamar Jackson, won the Heisman last year. He's off to another fast start like he was around this time last year. Got a dominating win against Florida State. And to me, that's what ended up winning him the Heisman. He had some competition this year, though. Baker Mayfield in Oklahoma getting that statement win at the shoe in Columbus against Ohio State. But Clemson, they haven't allowed a touchdown yet this year. So these are two of the best going at it. This is the best offense that Clemson's seen all year, and this is the best defense that Louisville's seen all year. Clemson, you know what they're going to do. They're going to rush you up front. They're going to mix it up. They're going to come in on stunts. Defensive ends are going to come out in a wide nine technique, but their secondary hasn't been tested. So if I'm Louisville, I think that's the vast majority of the game plan. You have to come out and attack that secondary of Clemson. Make them work a little. Use your wide receivers. Use your tight ends. And Lamar Jackson's really impressed me, not just as a runner, but more so as a passer. He's developed that pocket awareness, and that's what you need as a quarterback, the ability to take hits, the ability to throw the ball down the field from the pocket and make a throw on the run. But I don't trust Louisville's defense on this fight. I think Clemson gets a win on the road.
How big was the Oklahoma win over in Ohio State in the Horseshoe?
It's absolutely huge because last year when these two teams played, I previewed that one on the site, and I said the winner of this game is going to get to the playoffs and the loser is going to have a harder time trying to get in. Ohio State goes down there. They get to the playoffs. Oklahoma's out. Now, Oklahoma returned the favor. They're going to probably come in as the number 2 or number 3 ranked team in the country on Saturday when week 3 starts. And it's just huge, man. With Ohio State, they're struggling right now, especially in that secondary. And when J.T. Barrett doesn't play well, Ohio State doesn't play well.
Christian, tell everybody listening today on Mercado Airwaves Sports Experience, our very first episode, what can they expect when they visit you at the Daily Blitz?
Oh, man, just top-notch analysis. This is everything football, 24/7, 365. I established this on September 6th of 2010. We just celebrated our 7-year anniversary. It's just an absolute blessing to be in this position right now. I preview 5 games a week. I preview 2 college. One's a campus class, and then one's a Saturday spotlight, and then I preview 3 NFL games. I do power rankings, and then just any news that's coming on, whether it's a player that's injured, a guy got traded, and I just give my take on everything.
You can follow him at the Daily Blitz _61. Like him on Facebook at the Daily Blitz, dailyblitz.net. do me a favor. Make sure you visit all of them. You do whatever you can to spread the word, share the work. It really is a passion for him. He does it all the time. Christian is one of the best dudes in the business right now, not just for his knowledge, but when it comes to making time for people, for encouraging people. He's one of the best dudes that we have going. So please visit him over at the Daily Blitz. Christian, brother, thank you so much, man. You have no idea how much it means that you joined us to be our first guest here on our first episode. This is something that I was kind of nervous of doing when it came to doing a sports show. Normally I like to do my own little passion projects, but it seemed like it was time to jump into the thing I know, and I'm really happy and honored that you joined me on the first dive in.
Hey man, I'm honored that you even asked me. When you told me about this, there was no way I would turn this down. It was no hesitation for me. So thank you, brother.
No, you got an open home here, man. We'll be talking soon about some more football. We'll be seeing we got a lot of things we haven't talked about, man. Will Trubisky end up playing for the Bears? What's happening? Is Jameis Winston going to take the next turn? Can Cam Newton get healthy? We got a lot of stuff we got to talk to. We'll have you back on the show, brother.
Absolutely. Thank you, man.
Christian Simpson, Daily Blitz. Follow him everywhere. They're on Twitter at Daily Blitz _61. Like him on Facebook at The Daily Blitz. And please visit the website, thedailyblitz.com. He's the man. He's one of the best in the business. He's Christian Simpson. Love you, brother. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, love you too, man. Thank you.
And we'll be right back on Mercado Airwaves Sports Experience here on Mercado Airwaves. What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound for pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
Just another day at the office, I get to go out there and test my skill.
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones. Orlando, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, sir. I'm good, brother. How you doing?
And all the other interesting guests we've had on. Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support. Here is one of our 2 questions that we posted on our Facebook page at Mercado Airwaves. Go ahead and give us a like there so you can interact with the community and give us your opinion on each question that we post each week, and maybe we will read your comment on the air. Here is one of our 2 for this week. Bears fans, are you okay with the results of today's game? Do you want to see wins or you want to see losing to get a better draft pick? And here are some of the comments we had. This is from Jose. Taking it a game at a time. Secondary needs work. Tariq Cohen showed out. Glennon was Glennon. I actually think Glennon was decent. I don't think Glennon had he wasn't spectacular, but he didn't cost them the game. But with Trubisky there's a lot of hate on Glennon, and that's what happens when you're the Bears quarterback. This is from Michael. We should have won that game. We had 4 tries at the end zone and just didn't finish the game. I want to see that, finishing games, taking responsibility for when they don't win. I mean, I totally get it. The interesting thing is John Fox is probably gone after this year. They have a quarterback that they gave a lot of money to, but they drafted a quarterback of the future. There's just a lot of weirdness going on at Hallis Hall, and in the NFL, it's really hard to get people to talk, so I don't know how much responsibility we'll see. This was from Carlos, this Joker. I love this guy. I hope they keep losing. 0-16, better draft pick. Let's be the best at being the worst in a league with the New York Jets and probably the Cleveland Browns and the Indianapolis Colts. It's going to be hard to be the worst. And here's from Robert. I agree with Carlos. One more year of losing and draft offensive linemen. Not the ones that hurt your feelings, the ones that block. The defense looks good at times. At times, still developing a bit on the side. Main need is linemen, which is true. You got to protect your quarterback, and eventually you got to make holes for Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen as the future moves on. I definitely think a offensive lineman is in the future for the Bears when it comes to a draft pick. I definitely think an explosive wide receiver is what this team needs after Kevin White got hurt. Unfortunately, I totally forgot to bring that up with Christian Simpson, who we had on earlier on in the show. Very interesting stuff, guys. Thank you so much for being a part of the conversation. You can also be a part of it. Just like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333 and visit us on patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. There you will see the weekly questions posed for each show. Let's move on to the last question of the week. If you are a fan of a team but do not work or play for them, can you use the word we when talking about them? For example, we, as in the Chicago Bears, had the game against the Atlanta Falcons. We asked for you to give us your thoughts. Here are some of the responses. This is from Jasmine. I personally always found that odd, but I understand it's a city pride thing. Yet it's still not fair to say we won and then be angry or sad at a player if he messes up and says it's his fault. Thank you, Jasmine, for that. This comes from Miranda. I agree. It's more of a pride thing because I feel like we invest so much time into some sports and follow their every move. In this instance, game. So we feel like they're representing us as a whole city. We feel like we're part of that team or have a connection. Thank you, Miranda, for that. This comes from Jose. Absolutely. As fans, we invest financially and emotionally into the team. We build memories with the team, parent, child, games, dates, best friends, going to the game, playoff parties. To some who don't have much, they're a beacon of hope. Last year's World Series for the Cubs is the perfect example for that. We all felt it. We were invested and involved. Thank you to each of you for responding, for giving us your thoughts. We really appreciate it. If you would like to be involved with the show, please like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. You can follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. You can also visit us on patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. We will post a question each week on the Patreon page, as well as talk to each other on the YouTube page, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. Get the conversation going, guys. In my opinion, this has always been an interesting subject, in my opinion. Before I got into radio, I used to say a lot of we's. I'm a Cub fan. I root for the Cubs. I root for the Bulls. I root for the Bears. I'm a fan of these teams. But as I've continued to grow in my career, I tend to drop the we. And it's weird because fans get really sensitive when it comes to that. And let me break down for the people who believe it's ludicrous for you to not use the term we. You heard it in some of the comments here, investment of time. For a lot of people, time is precious. For most people, time is precious. And if you invest 3 hours, 4 hours, 2 hours, wherever the case may be, of time you deem precious for any given team, that's an investment. That's a life investment, if you will, because you're giving up time of your life to watch that, to root for them. Counter to that, though, is you don't have to. It's not life and death. But like the commenter said, like Jose said, for some, it's a beacon of hope. For some, it was a dream. For some, it's everything. And who are we to tell people what they should hold hope for, or what they should put their belief in, or what they should use for their motivation? I think what stemmed this question more than anything is not questioning people on how they should feel as fans or what they should do as fans, but for fans of every sport, of any team, to take a look at themselves every once in a while, to see what they're doing, to see how they're acting, to see the investments that they're putting, and perhaps too much time into it. I love sports. I love them. They're part of my life. Every Sunday I wake up, when I'm at the radio station at 4 o'clock, the only time of the week I'm so excited to be at work because I know it's football Sunday. The World Series was one of the greatest moments I've ever felt as a sports fan. Maybe in my 27 years, one of the coolest moments, a part of time of my life. But there's also perspective for it. It is just a game. You have to remember certain things. As angry as you are, as passionate as you are, for these guys and gals out there playing, This is their job. They're the pros. They understand what's at stake. And the ones that don't get weeded out. And we see it. And that's for any line of work. So then my question turns around to anybody and says, how important is it to you? How mad do you get? Do you get mad when you see Jay Cutler on a bike after he's sprained his knee? Do you think you could do it too because you played high school football, maybe even some college? The fact remains is none of us know what it takes to play in the NFL because only a select few do. Just like some of us don't know what it is to be a chef or a doctor or a teacher. You can have an understanding of it. You can have an appreciation for it. You can have a passion for it. You can study it. But on the pro level, it's different. And you have to keep that in mind. I always wish that you get enjoyment out of anything. All those who have been following my career know how much I love movies, video games, comics, all this other pop culture stuff. You can't let it all consume you. And you have to take love for it. And you have to enjoy it. You should enjoy it. But is it worth letting it ruin your day? Ruining your life? And it comes back to, do you use weed? Is it okay to use weed? In my opinion, do what makes you happy. You're the consumer. The product is meant for you. They're employees. So when you're mad, maybe don't lash out at Jose Abreu or Anthony Rizzo. Maybe you shouldn't be that angry at John Fox. There are a lot of things these coaches and these players do are annoying, sure. But life isn't Madden. It isn't the show. It isn't 2K. It's a real people. It's a real things, real teams, real businesses, real brands. And it's bigger than sometimes we like to imagine or see as fans, yet we're willing to say we. So maybe if we're saying we, if we are invested that much on these teams, maybe we should understand a little bit more of what we're saying. So when you're calling the sports networks and the radio shows, and you're saying that Jay Cutler's a bum and he's a sissy, maybe you should check yourself and realize that some of these players are literally dying every single play because they're scrambling their brains. Maybe it's not the easiest thing to catch up to a 97-mile-an-hour fastball. Maybe as fans, we should enjoy the ride because that's our job. And to enjoy the ride, to take the emotions in, but keep life in perspective because life will make sure everything's kept in perspective.
If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, MikeMercado2333.
That'll do it for us, guys. Thank you so much for joining us on this, our first episode of Mercado Airwaves Sports Experience. Thank you so much to our first guest, Christian Simpson. Please support him. You can find him everywhere. He's at the Daily Blitz. Follow him on Twitter at Daily Blitz _61. Like him on Facebook at The Daily Blitz. And visit their website, thedailyblitz.net. And you can subscribe to them and read all their amazing articles. He does some awesome work. Thank you, Christian, for joining us today. And thank you guys for joining us. I had so much fun getting this together. I hope that we're going to make this show get better. We're going to have fun. We're going to enjoy every single time we do this because this is sports and sports is fun. And sometimes we're going to, talk about certain things and we're going to maybe make them mean a little bit more just because, heck, we have the platform. We're all friends. And at the end of the day, we have a couple things in common, including we love this world that we have that is the sports world. And it's a community. And that's why even though I have my feelings about sometimes the negativity that comes from the sports world when it comes to fans and athletes' interactions with one another and journalists, and I really hope that this is an outlet that we could think a little, we can have a little fun, we could just talk, and it could be an outlet for all of us. And this show would not be possible if it wasn't for our producers over at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. It's tough times right now with all the devastation that's going down that happened in Houston, that happened in Texas, and that's going on in Florida. The earthquakes in Mexico, the constant daily craziness that happens just living this life. But if you enjoy what we're doing here, and you have $1, you have a couple bucks, whatever the case may be, and you just want to support the show in whichever way you can, even if it's just going on iTunes and finding us at Mercado Airwaves and liking us, rating us, reviewing us, sharing us, going to YouTube, subscribing to us at Mike Mercado 2333, liking us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves, sharing our shows. If you don't want to give any type of if you don't want to produce and you don't want to support the show financially, please, anything you do socially when it comes to social media or word of mouth is worth $1 million. And for those of you who do that and have been supporting us, thank you so much. And for those of you who are joining us for the first time, welcome. This is going to be fun. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. We will see you next week. We will talk everything week 2 of the NFL. We'll have a cool guest for you guys. We'll talk everything that's going on in the September race, because October is right around the corner, which means we have playoff baseball. We got to talk some Bulls and Blackhawks at some point. We'll get to it. And we got to recap Triple G versus Canelo. We will see you guys next week on Mercado Airwaves Sports Experience. Thanks, guys. What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound for pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
Another David at the operator to go out there and test my skill.
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones. Orlando, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, sir. I'm good, brother. How you doing?
And all the other interesting guests we've had on. Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support.